Okay! First of all, wow, was that not the most amazing week ever? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Your videos were absolutely amazing and they blew my brain and I love them so much. And I love this project so much. It's a good thing I don't have to top that performance because all I was able to come up with was a question regarding the nature of existence. You think that's a joke? That's not a joke. Alright, so my question for today, and I've had a hard time coming up with the wording for it, so I may have gotten it wrong. And I want you to pay more attention to the idea than to the actual specific wording of the question, but you were going to do that anyway. So here's the question. The question is, of what importance is the method by which the universe assumed its present state? Now included in this, obviously, is the clash between young Earth creationism and evolutionary science. But I think there's a bigger picture than that. But since those are the two big things that I know about, I'm going to use those two as I discuss this question. Okay, so let's begin. Young Earth creationism says that the universe assumed its present state approximately 6,000 years ago when God created it in 6 literal 24-hour days. Evolutionary science says that the universe assumed its present state gradually over a period of approximately 15 billion years when it started as a speck smaller than an atom that blew up, I guess you would say. Yeah. Now there's two aspects of this that I want to look at. First of all, actual importance of how the universe achieved its present state of being, and second of all, attached or created importance of how the universe achieved its present state. So let's talk first about the actual importance of how the universe got to be the way it is. Some fundamental Christians would say that the validity of Scripture is seriously damaged if you interpret the first 3 chapters of Genesis in any way other than young Earth creationism. And some evolutionary scientists might say that the academic integrity of science is seriously damaged if you interpret our observations of the physical world in any way other than evolutionary science. The thing is, I don't think either of these positions is true. Because from a Christian perspective, young Earth creationism has by no means been the consensus among the church. And by consensus, I refer not only to the present-day church, but also to the history of the church. For example, if you read Augustine's Confessions, there's a chapter in which he proposes about 10 different interpretations of the first few verses of Genesis. 10! And he's like a Christian superhero! Not only that, but Origen, you remember Origen, he's the early church father from approximately 300 AD, I'm a little fuzzy on the dates. Well, Origen was the guy who basically came up with the whole idea of interpreting scriptures metaphorically versus literally. And he says they both have merits! This argument within the church about different ways of interpreting the Bible, and specifically interpreting the first 3 chapters of Genesis, is by no means a new argument, and I do not believe that the validity of Scripture is seriously damaged by an interpretation of the first 3 chapters of Genesis, which makes room for evolutionary science. On the flip side, I also don't think that the academic integrity of science is seriously damaged if young Earth creationism turns out to be true. Because although the scientific community generally accepts the Big Bang Theory and the evolutionary theory, they're still calling them that. Theories, because they know that they cannot prove them. And any scientist with actual academic integrity should be perfectly willing to throw out those theories if evidence that proves them wrong is uncovered. Having the evolutionary theory or the Big Bang Theory proved wrong doesn't damage science's academic integrity, it just proves that science is doing what science does, making new observations and making progress. Ultimately, neither theory can be proved because nobody was around to observe either theory. Young Earth creationism says that man wasn't around until the 6th day of creation, which means we couldn't have watched the first 5 days. Evolutionary science says the universe started off 15 billion years ago as a tiny speck and man wasn't around until far later in the picture, which means that we couldn't have been around to watch the Big Bang. We can't observe it, we cannot prove it. Just as a side note, Thursday, I know what you're thinking. Yes, even if we had observed it, we couldn't prove it, but that's a separate issue. And so because neither theory can be proved, and because neither institution is seriously damaged by having its theory disproved, I do not think that the question of how the universe came to achieve its present state of being is an important one. And yet our society has attached great, and I believe undue importance to this question of how the universe came to achieve its present state of being, and I don't know why. In fact, I think a far more important question than how did the universe come to be like this is the question, how did the universe come to be? Come to be what? Just be! Existence! Because both young Earth creationism and evolutionary science both agree that we exist, and that in and of itself, existence gives testament to a creator. I mean, this stuff had to come from somewhere. Young Earth creationism says that time, space, and matter came into existence approximately 6,000 years ago when God spontaneously created them. The Big Bang Theory doesn't actually explain where existence, time, space, and matter came from. It only proposes how the universe came to achieve its present state of being, which means there's plenty of room in the evolutionary theory for God. Ultimately, I believe it is perfectly possible to comply with the tenets of Orthodox Christianity and with the tenets of science without any contradictions. Because the last time I checked, the Nicene Creed just says that you believe in a creator God. And that doesn't have to mean 6 literal days. And the last time I checked, science means making observations about the physical universe and drawing conclusions based upon those observations. And that doesn't mean denying the existence of God. And so, although our society has attached major significance to this question of how the universe came to achieve its present state of being, I do not think it is an important question. But that's just what I think, and I would appreciate hearing what you think, because I don't think I covered everything. So, what do you think? This isn't Blue's Clues. You have to leave a comment. Oh, you're waiting for the video to end. Well then, I will say goodbye. Again. Goodbye. Because although the scientific